Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, Vince Coglianese.
Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 5:07 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. How often do armed American citizens avert peril through their tactical use of their sidearm, to stop the bad guys? Well, it turns out quite often, but the FBI goes out of its way to suppress that data in an effort to offer a predicate to ban guns nationwide. Let's be honest. Why would you hide that unless you were trying to work against the Second Amendment? And that's an issue that we've talked to our next guest about many times. But what we have that's new for you today is just how frequently the good guy with a gun makes such a positive difference in the United States of America. Joining us now is John Lott. He's the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, and he joins us on the phone. Hello, John.
Great to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
It's always our pleasure. All right, John. So tell me what you have discovered about concealed carriers in the United States and the role that they play in keeping our streets safe.
So we looked at all the active shooting cases in the United States over the 10 years from 2014 to 2023. The FBI defines an active shooting case as somebody shooting at somebody else in a public place, not involving some other type of crime like a robbery or a gang fight over drug turf, anything from somebody being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. And there are about 350 of these active shooting cases that occurred over that decade. And what you find is that if you look at places where people are allowed to carry, because they're not allowed to carry every place, and you're talking about law-abiding citizens, and if you're talking about a law-abiding citizen, you can't expect them to carry in places which it's illegal for them to carry.
Right.
They stopped 52% of the active shooting cases.
So I'm sorry, just to dwell on that point for a moment, in areas that are not gun-free zones where you're allowed to carry, concealed carry permit holders stop 52% of all active shootings?
That's right.
Wow.
And police, by contrast, stopped about 44% of the active shooting cases. So they're stopping them at a higher rate. But beyond that, it's just kind of issues about, we watch TV programs. We see the news coverage. Often the implication is when you watch these TV police shows, the concealed carry permit holder is accidentally shooting a bystander, or they get in the way of the police, or they have the gun taken away from them, or they get harmed in some way. And what is amazing is how infrequent those types of instances are. I could only find one case of these, of all the cases where a concealed carry permit holder stopped an active shooting where they accidentally shot and wounded a bystander. And the interesting thing is just to compare it to the rate that police do. Police, in fact, you have 4 cases. 2 of them, they accidentally shot other police officers, and 2 cases and killed them. And in 2 cases, they accidentally shot and killed civilians who were there. You look at other things about, did they get in the way of the police? There's not one case where something like that happened. There's one case where a concealed carry permit holder had their gun taken away from them. And there's 2 cases where civilians who were stopping the attack were shot and killed in the incident. By contrast, there's 27 cases where police officers were shot and killed when they were stopping these attacks.
Yeah.
Now,
well,
I think a lot of that is just the fact that police have a very difficult job. They're
Yes.
in uniform. They're readily identifiable to these attackers. And so, if they're present or near the scene, since the attacker there is going to know that they're the one person that for sure has a gun, it's not too surprising that they face much greater risk, not only in terms of being shot and killed,
yes,
but also being shot and wounded than civilians who are using guns to protect themselves or others.
And look, you of course, you're data driven. You've looked through all these stories. You've compiled this data. But the reason I know you're telling the truth is, one, your track record, but two, that if there were incidents where law-abiding gun owners who carry concealed were responsible for some sort of innocent bystander's death, the left would be crowing about those stories. We would know the names of everyone involved. These stories would be featured on all of their newscasts as a further predicate to disarm Americans, and they don't have those kinds of stories to draw upon.
No, that's exactly right. But, beyond it, nobody needs to take my word for it. We have all the cases on our website, as well as links to the underlying cases themselves, so people can go and check. Do they fit the FBI definition of an active shooting case? What happened? All the details are there, so people can go and check in original sources whether or not that's accurate. So I agree with you.
So the FBI lies about all of this. They don't reveal all of this data. They lie by omission. And it seems to me that given the frequency with which concealed carry permit holders stop active shootings, it would actually be, if the FBI's goal was public safety, it would be in their interest to support law-abiding gun owners who are out there, wouldn't it?
You would think. Look, there are two issues, and people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have a huge job ahead of them. One is, as we've talked about before in your program, there are lots of errors in the FBI data. In many ways, there's been a lack of transparency, even in things like the uniform crime reports that they put out. But there's this other issue that you're talking about, and that is by omission. What data do they put together there? So by deciding what data to publish, they affect the debate here. They may have data on active shooting cases, but they don't break it down in the same way. They don't look at the types of, instances that we've just been talking about. Do they actually shoot a bystander? Are they killed in the process? Do they get in the way of the police? Those seem like important questions out there, and yet the FBI data, those are not the types of things that they even look at.
Okay. Now, separately, you've got a piece today in the Washington Times about police officers and their support for armed Americans. What did the data show there?
Police are extremely supportive of private ownership of guns, and in particular, carrying concealed. Police, if you look at surveys of police, and there's some large surveys, Police One, which is the largest private organization of police in the country, they have about 450,000 members there. You compare it to the fact that there are about 700,000 police out there. If you ask them, what is the role of private gun ownership in reducing crime? About 76% of police think that it's either extremely or very important in terms of reducing crime. Police know that they're extremely important. My own research says that the police are the single most important factor for reducing crime. But the police themselves understand that they virtually always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And they realize in their own lives how important being able to have a gun is.
Yes.
And they understand that for civilians, too.
They have practical experience with guns. They understand and respect the implement. And they're happy that there are people out there who also know how to do it in a civilian capacity, own those guns, and use them wisely.
Right. And they see firsthand what happens when civilians use guns to protect themselves and others.
So, in addition to that, there's the issue of national reciprocity. Not every state has the same laws when it comes to guns. And in fact, it's caused some real trouble for some people who might not understand that the state that they're traveling through is about to destroy your life for merely traveling through it with a gun, which has definitely happened in some very awful, high-profile cases. What's the state of national reciprocity right now in terms of fixing this so that Americans are respected no matter where they travel within our country while exercising their Second Amendment right?
Well, you can go and get a permit for some states like Utah or Arizona or Florida, and that will allow you to go and carry in maybe about 36, 37 states, depending upon what state we're talking about there. The problem is that, as you're saying, you can't do it in all states. if people have gotten in trouble in D.C., for example, going through. And while a bill that would make it so that a concealed carry permit would be recognized like a driver's license is right now. I mean, with a driver's license, some states allow you to turn on red and others don't. You have to know what the rules are as you go and you travel across the country. It would be the same type of process for concealed carry permit holders. Unfortunately, there are states that you can end up in jail, if you don't understand that you're banned from being able to go and carry in some places. And, you have people who are traveling, a woman who may be traveling alone across the country, be able to go and protect herself if her car breaks down.
Yeah.
Or if you're a truck driver and you have valuable cargo, you may be in situations where people try to go and steal the contents of your truck there. And so being able to go and protect yourself as you travel through Illinois or California or New York or other states might be extremely important for their safety. Not being able to do that may cause some people not to go and do the traveling that, others may not even think about. But the problem is getting it through the Senate. You have senators like the two Democrats from Virginia. Virginia allows reciprocity in the vast majority of the country for people to go and carry. There's no problems that people can point to in Virginia where permit holders in other states have done. There's no move even by Democrats in Virginia to go and stop that type of reciprocity that's there. But yet neither of the Democrats from neither Warner nor Kane would vote for national reciprocity. And you see the same thing with Democrats from other states. In fact, you have 10 Democrats who are in states where they recognize and have reciprocity with the vast majority of other states, no problems that have occurred, and yet they will vote against national reciprocity.
And you write today in the Washington Times that police chiefs and sheriffs all across the country support national reciprocity by wide margins. 86% of police chiefs and sheriffs want nationwide reciprocity, and over 90% of street police officers support concealed handgun laws. So it appears it's only the anti-liberty, anti-gun lobby in Washington that's really grinding all of this to a halt, because American citizens want it, the police want it. It's basically the corrupt factions within D.C. that don't.
Right. Well, one of the bizarre things is that after the Supreme Court decision in Bruin a couple of years ago, which kind of struck down the extremely restrictive so-called May issue concealed carry laws in the 7 states that had it, where you had to go and demonstrate some good reason for why you should be able to go and carry. So you're like New York and California and New Jersey. The TV media started having all these police shows where they would go and show bad things happen with permit holders. And it's just kind of this, you have a group of people, it's not just this. For something like 20 years, Democrats would filibuster letting police who had less 10 years experience be able to go and carry their guns off duty across state lines across the country. It was only after 9/11 that the filibuster finally broke and they allowed police to be able to do it. Here you have people with at least 10 years of experience who would for free be willing to go when they travel to go and protect others if they saw something happen. And yet, Democrats would claim that for public safety reasons, they couldn't let these police officers with at least 10 years of experience go and travel across the country with their guns, having essentially reciprocity for these police officers with all this experience. You have a similar type of debate that's occurring, unfortunately, with concealed carry permit holders, even though permit holders are extremely law-abiding. They have very few problems. You look at the rate that permit holders lose their permits for any firearms-related violation, and it's 1/12 the rate that police officers are convicted of firearms-related violations. Right. And that itself is extremely rare, like 1/20th the rate of the general population.
I love you because I just love the data. I just love you digging into it and giving us clear answers on what it says. Hey, as always, John Lott with the Crime Prevention Research Center. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your always excellent work. Nice to talk to you.
Well, good luck as you move on to larger audience. It's been an honor to be on your show here on WMAL, and I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, John. Not the last time we're talking, that's for sure. It's 5:22 now.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
All right, coming up, so much breaking news right now. A brazen cover-up going on in one government agency that President Trump has been trying to get control of. I've got the new details on the other side of the news here on the Vince Colonnade Show.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Hey, good afternoon. It's 5:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Man, it's kind of bittersweet, this final half hour. I've been doing this afternoon show for, 2021. Yeah, I mean, just about 4 years now. And it's been just a total blast. And today, this will be my last program here in the 3 to 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Mike Opelka on the air. Mike's going to be filling in for us here in the 3 to 6 slot until WMAL settles out exactly what's going to happen in these hours, which I have full confidence in their judgment as they work on that. Starting next week, I will be doing 12 to 3 nationwide, headquartered out of WMAL, although I'll be in Florida for a bit. We're doing a big handoff with Dan Bongino on Friday, leading into next week, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. I hope you'll be there with me if you can do it. I know everyone's got different working schedules. If you can do it, that'd be excellent. We'll also have the podcast, which we put together live streams every morning at 10 a.m., and then subsequent to that, you can pick it up wherever you get a podcast. So listen to Chris Plant in the morning, listen to me from 12 to 3, and if you'd like to listen to the podcast later on delay, you've got options. One more thing, and then I want to get to your calls and some more of the content of the show. I want to, once again, now because I have the opportunity, I want to offer my gratitude to Dave Kimber, who is working the board for me. Yes, Jeff, giving you a round of applause from behind soundproof glass, but I'm telling you, I'm physically watching it. Dave has made the energy of this show so wonderful. If you enjoy the music that you hear on this program, all the bumpers that we have, all this stuff, I'm telling you, I don't know if it gets you hyped up. It gets me hyped up. When I hear the energy of the music going into and out of these segments, I adore it. And every single one of those pieces of music is thoughtfully chosen and, by the way, edited. Not every piece of music comes ready to be on a radio program like this because we're talking over it. So Dave has to edit out the words and get it just so and make it sound good. He's an artist, and he loves doing it, and he's been doing it. How long have you been doing this, Dave? How long have you been doing 40? How many years? He said 40-some. He can't even tell me how many years he's been doing this. We're all 40-some at WMAL? A lot of them. A lot of them. So Dave, in addition to operating the board here for me, Dave is basically the historian for WMAL. He's the longest serving employee here. The only one who comes even close, and he's still pretty far away, is John Matthews, I believe. So Dave has just been a total phenom. I thanked Anna yesterday, but I get Anna 1 day a week. I get Dave 4 days a week. So again, Dave, thank you. It's just been a total blast. And Jeff Wolf back in here today, filling in for Corey and Gannon, the late Corey and Gannon Martin. No, Corey's not dead, but Corey's gone. Corey left on Friday, so Jeff's been taking care of me these last few days, and I genuinely appreciate that. So this has just been so wonderful. So thank you to all of you for making this what it's become. Let me go to the phones now. I want to get Liz in Gainesville, Virginia, in here on line 5, who wants to talk about what we were talking about with John Lott a little bit ago, which is national concealed carry reciprocity. Liz, you're on the Vince Colonnade Show. Hello.
Hey, Vince. Nice to talk to you again. I was talking to the call screener about my experience when doing a road trip from Virginia to Kansas. And this was a couple of years ago. I have a Virginia and a Utah concealed carry permit, and part of the reasoning is to bridge the gaps, where there's no reciprocity. And so the one thing I couldn't figure out how to do is how to skip Illinois.
Yes. So what did you?
So
you just had to just hope for the best. Is that what happened?
Just hope for the best. Separated everything. I was traveling with a girlfriend, and we were traveling through territory I wasn't familiar with. So obviously, safety was a concern. But I would just say that I don't understand this mishmash of rules and regulations regarding CCP. And also, people need to know that people who have a license, they are definitely held to higher standards than anybody else. Like in Virginia, it's open carry, right? So we have to we agree to certain standards.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal, and it's senseless that you have to do your research to figure out what American states you're allowed to exercise your Second Amendment right in. It's the craziest thing ever. Congress, it's long overdue for them to fix it, and I'll keep pushing for that. I know, and John Lott has all that great data on it, but it's just miserable to think that you are a law-abiding citizen, you merely want to travel through a state, and you could be looking at a felony arrest and imprisonment for exercising a right that is enshrined and protected in the U.S. Constitution. It's madness, Liz, and I'm sorry that you and so many others have to deal with that.
Thank you, Vince, and congrats.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that call. All right, more of your calls in just a moment. I do want to hit a big news item that just came out in the last hour. The USAID, that agency that's dedicated to the betterment of the world. It's basically your coerced charity operation, where they steal your money and then they give it to all these other causes. They're like, look, we're doing good with your money. But so much of that agency's work, which is, as we find out more about it, like completely insane, is classified. This big charity, they want you to know how much good they're doing, but they can't tell you everything because a lot of it's classified. What? And that leads us to today, where now we have agency officials telling the remaining staffers who are still in the building, burn everything. Burn it all. What? This is a real Politico headline from just the last hour. USAID official tells remaining staffers, shred and burn all your documents. A senior official at USAID instructed the agency's remaining staff to convene at the agency's now former headquarters in Washington on Tuesday for an all-day group effort to destroy documents stored there, many of which contain sensitive information. The materials earmarked for destruction include contents of the agency's classified safes and personnel documents at the Ronald Reagan Building, said an email sent by USAID's acting executive director, Erica Carr, and obtained by Politico. Quote, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break, the email said. Carr instructed staff to label the burn bags with the words secret and USAID, BIO, agency shorthand for Bureau or Independent Office, in dark Sharpie. The email did not provide any reason for the document destruction. The building is being emptied out after mass layoffs, which may have disrupted routine document destruction timetables, says Politico charitably. Customs and Border Protection is planning to move into the USAID facility, having rented 390,000 square feet of office space in the building just last month. The effort also underscores the tumultuous way in which the Trump administration is dismantling an agency that once managed a $40 billion annual budget and had more than 10,000 staff around the world. Yeah, so they're blaming Trump for this. Like, oh, they've got to hurry up and destroy all of the classified documents. It's Trump's fault that they need to cover up literally everything. Is this not the most brazen cover-up headline you've ever heard? And Politico, in its charitable, it's like, well, maybe there was just a backlog of documents that need to be destroyed. The State Department didn't respond to a request for comment on the document purges. A former USAID staffer confirmed the veracity of the email. Former? They're still getting email? Well, they confirmed the veracity of it, and they described the destruction of agency documents as unprecedented. Oh. Quote, I've never seen something like this. En masse. Everyone with a safe is supposed to keep it up to date and destroy documents when they no longer need to be stored. Sometimes security will check your safe and tell you if you have to clean out old material, said the former staffer, who was granted anonymity due to fear of possible reprisals by the Trump administration. I love how Trump is the bad guy in the entire story. They're burning all the documents, and every so often they just kick Trump right in the ribs again. They're like, well, this guy has to remain anonymous because he fears reprisal from Trump. USAID has been at the epicenter of Trump and tech mogul Elon Musk's visions of a smaller federal workforce. Most of USAID's personnel have been laid off or placed on administrative leave. USAID staffers are battling the changes in courts with mixed results. Anyway, that's Politico's report today. So they're burning everything. The headline is shred and burn all your documents. And then on, the New York Times has a piece up today on this. USAID official orders employees to shred or burn classified and personnel records. So they're destroying everything today. One more for you. The education department is going through some cutbacks today. CNN headline. There are literally 5 people on the byline for this CNN report. This is the 5-alarm fire. It's the 5-reporter fire they've been waiting for. CNN Politics reports education department to cut about 50% of workforce. Need I remind you, Trump ran on this? He didn't run on cutting 50%, by the way. It was 100% is what he was targeting. He wants to get rid of the education department, send the money back to the states. Let the states manage their schools. The education department has never once yielded a positive result for American students in the entirety of its history. It's time to go. CNN, they put their own name at the top of it, Dateline CNN. The U.S. Education Department will start sweeping layoffs beginning Tuesday evening. That's today. 3 sources familiar with the plan told CNN. As President Donald Trump has proposed eliminating the agency altogether, the department is expected to cut about 50% of its workforce, with notices starting to go out Tuesday evening, the sources said. The department employs around 4,400 workers. Tuesday's expected cuts follow similar layoffs at other federal agencies, yada, yada, yada. They don't really offer a lot of other details here. What do they got? Earlier Tuesday, the department told employees that its offices will be closed Tuesday evening and Wednesday for unspecified security reasons, according to a memo that was sent to all employees and obtained by CNN. Employees are instructed to take their laptops with them and vacate the building starting at 6 p.m. That's coming up in a few short minutes. The offices are set to reopen on Thursday, according to the memo sent by James Harefield from the Department's Office of Security, Facilities, and Logistics. Harefield did not specify the security reasons in the memo, and the Department of Education did not immediately respond to CNN's request for comment. Well, here's a security reason. American students are less safe when the Education Department is overseeing what they're learning. Their ability to get a good education is insecure. So, yeah, that's a security problem. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that agency. So some developing news today. At USAID, they're burning all of the evidence. At the Education Department, they're just finding out that at least half the workforce is expected to leave immediately. This is definitely a time of change for all of us. Let us see. I've got a lot going on here. Pam is calling in from Gaithersburg, Maryland on line 5. Hello, Pam. You're on the Vince Colonnese Show.
Hey, really nice to talk to you. And again, just echo every single person's sentiments. I was ecstatic when I heard. I'm not surprised at all. With humility comes honor. And I do sense that you are a genuinely humble guy. I mean, you have talents. You've worked them. Thank goodness you're not a DEI hire. I know you are an example to everybody that, that with hard work and just listening to your radio background, I was like, just so amazed, but I do. I just am so thrilled for you. And I also want to give a tremendous shout out to Dave Kimber. Man, I have wondered who does your bumper music, and I have been blessed over the years because it really does just flow, just like what you were describing. And, I hope that maybe you'll be able to take a few of those with you in the Vince show. Would you consider?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I wasn't actually going to bring it up, but I probably should just because it's another testament to how decent Dave is. Now, Dave has actually, we've all been communicating. Jim Verdi and Dave and me, we've been talking, and Dave has just volunteered to let us have the music library. So, in other words, I still have some kinks to work out here because I got to figure out exactly the pacing with Jim and how we do this whole show and when the music comes in and how it goes out, all of that. And you'll get to hear that all next week. But in saying that, Dave has already laid the groundwork for us to have the kind of show that has the kind of energy that we already do here from 3 to 6. And I'm with you, Pam, because I actually think and I get this a lot. A lot of people ask me about the music on this show, and especially they'll ask me title. I don't even know half the tracks. I have to ask Dave, what was that song? And then I can report back. But it ups the energy on this show to another level, and I can feel it, and you probably can even sense that I'm energized by it as we come in and out of these segments. So it's a big deal to me. It really has been.
Hey, one more thing, if I can add, and I'm so thrilled to hear that because I know that is a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work. So, Dave, thank you very, very much. I think the country is going to be really just so blessed by that.
Yeah.
Hey, what about this? Can you pitch this to management and ownership? Put 6:30 a.m. back on WMAL programming. You will reach. Seriously. You will reach people in parts of Baltimore, and that is a greater, metropolitan statistical area. And if you think about this, because hate to say it, MAL kind of glitches a little bit at right around NSA headquarters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder why that happens.
You could reach those people, and they're going to be on lunch and everything, driving around. I mean,
Pam,
what a fantastic opportunity!
I love the idea. I love how you're thinking about it. And let me give you some comfort here about this. I was here when we separated the simulcast from AM 630. Now, what was that? 6-7 years ago? It was a while ago. And when we did, one of the primary concerns at the time, and it was, what is that going to mean for our ratings? How many people are going to be listening to us? Obviously, because you get concerned about that. I have to say that our brothers and sisters over at WSBN, who are now on AM 630, they're doing amazing work. They're right here in this building. They're a phenomenal team. And here's the other upside. Our listenership only grew after that split. Our numbers have gone up since that time. And that not only involves the FM listening, but the online listening. And so that I don't anticipate, just from my lowly corner as it relates to this issue, that we'll see a merger between those signals again. But the good news is that everybody came out ahead after that split. And it's just been a total privilege to be here for all of it. Hey, Pam, thank you. I appreciate your call on all those questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bless you, and give my regards to Dan. I actually prayed for him the night that he lost the election in 2014. And I was in the war room with him, even though he didn't know me. I just was pitching him at my local polling place.
That's cool.
So tell him that person who shouted out, "Hey, can I pray for you?" Says hello. Okay, God bless.
I love that. I'm praying for these guys every day, too. Thank you, Pam. All right, it's 5:52 now. As usual, finishing the show with no time left on the clock. Hey, I see everyone on the phone. There's so many people on hold. Call me on the news show. It starts on Monday, 12 to 3, right here on WMAL. God bless you all, and thank you to everybody who made this happen.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.